Hey, hello, my friends. Well, they're starting to publish the numbers, folks. Second quarter numbers are out. I just finished the earnings call that Xerox had, and I wanted to do a video and share some of my thoughts on that call. Folks, our industry is obviously in some tough times. Supply chain issues. I mean, there's a lot of things facing the print industry. We all know it. Last week, I talked about the investment community and their views around the print community and how those views are going to change as interest rates rise and all the things that are going to go with that. The more scrutiny that's going to come to the imaging channel. Those friends of mine that sell supply and service print equipment, whether they're a dealer, small or mega, or whether they're an OEM, the scrutinization of our industry is going to pick up. And they're going to get the magnifying glasses out and look a little bit harder. One of the things I found interesting on this earnings call was a question from Morgan Stanley. I thought it was a fantastic question, but this question also, kind of validates what I was talking about on Friday. The scrutiny from the investment community. Here's the question. When will Xerox get to the 80% of the print volume pre-pandemic? Think about that question and the power of that question. A Morgan Stanley analyst asking Xerox, when are you going to get to the 80% of the volume? So they've already admitted to themselves and probably the rest of the financial world that the volume of print equipment is not going to go past 80% where it was pre-pandemic, which means the volume of print dropped 20%. That is a huge number. A huge number. Could you imagine if pre-pandemic, when the world didn't even know there was such a thing as a pandemic, or they ignored the possibilities there could be one? And back in 2017 or 2018, somebody said by the year 2022, print volumes are going to drop 20%. The world would have crapped right there. They would have said, what? Holy smokes. Now, keep in mind, if you were watching The End of the Day with Ray back then, I never even said 20%. But I was warning you. I was definitely warning you of dropping volumes. Not about paperless, about volumes dropping to the point that you wouldn't be able to fund the lifestyles that made that whole industry so wealthy over the last decades. But ladies and gentlemen, when Morgan Stanley's asking the question, when are you going to get back to the 80%? By the way, Xerox's answer to that is they're extremely close to that. But we're not going back, folks. We've lost 20% of our print volume. And the question I have to ask all the OEMs, and the question I have to ask all of the industry, what are you doing about it? What are you going to do to offset these losses? Because it's at 80% of where it was pre-pandemic, but folks, it's still going to continue to decline. Where are we going to be in 5 years? Where are we going to be in 7 or 8 years? And when I look at the Xerox financials, and I remain bullish on Xerox because of what I believe they can accomplish by the assets they're collecting to deliver the future to the present. So let me just jump on the Sharp Interactive board. I want to share a couple of things with you here. So there's the financials. And I strongly recommend that everybody go and read these things. They're out there. And just read through them. I'm not going to go through all these slides today. I want to show you a couple of things. Let's talk about their top line revenue of $1.75 billion. With constant currency, it's pretty much flat, right? Their operating margin of 2%. I get it. It ain't enough. 2% is not enough. The bottom line is, everybody in the world knows that 2% is not enough, but 2% is a whole lot better than being below the line. Last quarter, you'll remember, Xerox was below the line. So they're executing on cost cutting. And by the way, I'm going to tell you something right now. Cost cutting's coming. They admitted to this on their earnings call. They have the Project Own It thing going on, right? They're going to put back another $300 or $400 million in the coffers from that cost cutting. It's going to happen, folks, all over the place. And Xerox isn't the only one that's going to cut costs. The realignment has to happen. How do you drop 20% in your output volumes of your existing bases? How do you adjust for that? You have to make adjustments. And some of those adjustments are going to be pretty damn painful, I assure you. We saw our friends at Konica Minolta made some adjustments. Everyone's going to have to make adjustments. But here's the reality. You better be able to articulate the future in a way that gets these investors excited. Because if it's just going to be about we're going to one day get back and be the king of the hill selling print equipment, that's not going to get investors happy. Because another question that was asked by JP Morgan was, where are you going to pick up the revenue gaps? And Xerox talked about their IT services business, their acquisition up in Canada, and the other services that they bring to the table. Fiddle, their financing business. So there's ways that Xerox can capture revenue that's declining. But more importantly, they can share with the business community and the investment community exactly how they're going to do that. Now, I will tell you this. Xerox, like all my OEM friends that get into this managed IT services business, you have to be able to articulate the revenue and profit from the components of IT. Don't just lump all this together. I've been extremely critical of our friends over there at Konica Minolta for this reason. They were the OEM that's been in IT service the longest. Next to them would be Ricoh. But when you look at Konica Minolta, they don't share the details of all covered. They don't do it. Hopefully they will. Maybe they're tired of me screaming at them about it. But I'm going to tell you, when you get into IT services and you start delivering those services into the marketplace, the purpose is to what? To replace the declining print revenue. And when the investors can see how that print revenue that's declining is being replaced, they're going to get excited. And here's where they're really going to get excited. When you could share to the investment community the revenue per account compared from print to IT services, they're going to get really excited. Because you might have thousands and tens of thousands of print customers. But when they realize that the revenue from IT services is like getting the same amount of revenue from 100 customers, they're probably going to get real excited about those numbers. Let's break out the details of these IT services companies. Whether you're Xerox, my friends over at Kyocera are getting into this space. Let's break out the numbers. Let's force all the OEMs to break out the numbers, and you all start competing in those numbers in that space. And you watch the accountability, what that drives. It'll drive success like nobody's business. When you hide all the numbers and you lump it all together, it's easy to hide mismanagement. It really, really is. But anyway, I just got to say congratulations on 2% operating profit, even though as much as I hate to say that, because I really want you to be at like at least 10, right? So let's come over here, folks. I want to talk about two of the strategic initiatives to transform Xerox. I urge all of you to go to Xerox's website. Just pull this up and read through this stuff. But I want to focus on two because I think they're important. And the two I want to focus on, they're initiatives to drive revenue and monetize innovation. And let's talk about drive revenue. Grow market share of equipment sales and managed print services through continuous improvement of products and services. You know, that's a given, right? That's permission to show up. We all know Xerox sells print equipment, manages print equipment. And they know they got to continue to do that. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You got to continue to do that and do that and do that. It's representing billions of dollars worth of revenue for Xerox, okay? They got to get better at it, more efficient at it. They got to get products that take less service so they can capture more revenue and operating profit. They got to lessen the service load, but sell the output. So they get it. They're going in that direction. Expand distribution of digital solutions among existing print services clients and scale IT services and robotic process automation in the SMB market. Grow Fiddle as a global payment solutions business. Folks, let's talk about Fiddle, the finance business. You know, this is a great business for Xerox. Think about all those Xerox customers that are in leases right now that are owned by Fiddle, right? Fiddle, they control the paper. You have a lot more flexibility with those end users, wouldn't you say? And some of my friends in the dealer world that are using third-party leasing companies, it could be a little bit of a problem, right? So we need to see how that works out for Fiddle over time, because that could be really, really interesting. Right now, Xerox is sitting on $400 million worth of back orders. You know, how many of those back orders are for their own end users? And how are those own end users working things through with Fiddle? Very, very interesting. Talk about their robotic processes. And folks, you know, the RP processes that Xerox has, you know, they've done webinars on this. You could get your visualization around it. You could use your imagination of how that could go into the marketplace, how they could monetize that and make money. It's there. That's stuff they can sell existing customers. But like I said before, Managed IT services, I want to see more teeth in the breakout of that from everybody, because I think it's so important for the investment community to see that. Let's talk about monetized innovation, because, you know, we hear all the buzzwords out there. OEMs, they stand on the soapbox, they talk about all the nonsense they're going to do. We're going to DX and transform the whole entire world and blah, 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 blah. By the time you're done listening to it, you don't even know what the hell they're talking about. But here's the reality. I'm a big fan of CareAR, okay? I don't hide that. They're one of my sponsors. But I'm going to tell you something. I could go to CareAR's website. I could clearly define what they're going to deliver to the marketplace. I can clearly define it. I can see their momentum. I can see what they're doing in the marketplace. You know what? It's real. It's tangible. It's not a bunch of buzzwords. And I strongly suggest you start looking at what CareAR can do and how they're changing the services industry, because that's a big play for Xerox. And how are they going to embed these alternative products and services and solutions that are completely outside of print into that SMB market space? This is a big deal, and it's a big deal for Xerox's future. You know, Park technology. How are they going to take all these technologies from Park and embed those into the SMB community? But these are products and these are services that you can put your eyes on. You can read about. It's not just a bunch of damn buzzwords thrown in a financial document. Go to CareAR's website, folks. Go to Park's website, read about it, think about it, look at what they're doing. Apply your imagination, and your imagination will allow you to scale those businesses inside that SMB space. But the bottom line, my friends, it's simple. It's a simple bottom line. One of the things that Xerox talked about was the need to raise prices, and they're raising them. And all the OEMs are going to raise them. Every one of them, okay? Just like every dealership should be raising their prices. Our industry has got to get away from the race to the bottom as they try to transition. Because if you do that, even if you're successful at your transition, you're going to end up doing the same thing with that business model. And not only will you look like a total idiot in the marketplace, you won't make it in the marketplace. Because the disciplines involved in selling alternative services besides a printed page, well, those disciplines are a whole lot more than the discipline it takes to sell print and toner and manage print services. IT services, robotic process automation, these are complicated things that take skilled workers. The skill levels that we need in our organizations is raising every day. We have to raise the bar on who we hire. I talked about that last week. We're not trying to fulfill applications to work in Granddad's copier company. We need to change the game. We need to realign everything in our business and all of our processes to fall in alignment with our ever-changing industry. And if we don't do that, we're going to struggle big time. And quite honestly, some of y'all just won't make it. Just some things to think about, my friends, because we all know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.